Okay, so normally I talk about political stuff from a pretty moralistic perspective, you know, what's right, what's wrong, uh, praise Allah, that sort of stuff. This one's just funny, mostly because it shows how being a conservative is how you sleep on the couch. Many such cases. We've been seeing a lot of this. Um, so recently, there was a rally against vaccine mandates attended by one Robert F. Kennedy Jr. You've probably heard a little bit about this, but here's a clip from CNN, which contains within it a clip of JFK or RFK Jr. Sorry, JFK Jr. not present for comment on the QAnon business as it stands. RFK Jr., however,
we have to talk about this very bizarre anti-vaccine rally in Washington today. Just strange stuff happening here in Washington. Strange things afoot. Here's RFK Jr., the son of the former Attorney General. He's an anti-vaxxer making some incredibly offensive comments earlier today. Let's watch.
What we're seeing today, Can
I make fun of his voice, or would that be ableism?
Is what I call turnkey totalitarianism. They are putting in place all of these technological mechanisms for control we've never seen before. It's been the ambition of every totalitarian state from the beginning of mankind.
Yeah, I love this, by the way, because he's at an anti-vax rally, and vaccine mandates are the one area where the federal government has demonstrated their utter inability to enforce anything. The Supreme Court turned over that vaccine mandate that the Biden administration tried to put through for the big businesses. Like what are we talking? People always talk about how like we're living under the tyranny of COVID restrictions. Where? Like, unironically, like, where? There are some bars where you have to show them a vax card. You wear masks. I get, like, they do this every time. The conservatives fearmonger about, like, this massive government crackdown. And then, like, what? Like after the Katrina stuff, they were talking about FEMA camps. I was supposed to go to this rally, Vaush, if this is the one in DC. Oh, shoo, then you could have live recorded this next bit. You missed out on a great opportunity here of your kin, your brethren, shoo.
To control every aspect of behavior, of conduct, of thought, and to a political...
Sorry, hold on. By the way, RFK Jr. suffers from spasmodic dysphonia, a neurological disorder that affects the muscles in the voice box, so probably not a good idea to make fun of his voice. Ha! See, chat? I thought there'd be something.
Dissent. None of them have been able to do it. They didn't have the technological capacity. Even in Hitler's Germany, you could cross the Alps into Switzerland. You can hide in an attic like Anne Frank did. I visited in 1962 East Germany with my father and met people who had climbed the wall and escaped. So
listen, okay? If you think what the Jews had in Nazi Germany was bad, okay? I had to wear a mask and show off my Vax card when I went to the brewery down on 32nd, okay? You have no idea, okay? Listen, Anne Frank, she could still go to the pub. Yes, she could. You know, they'd have to do a little ferret wheeling, sneaky work there. But me, I had to show off. It's not like they ever found Anne Frank. I mean, she made it out, right? RFK Jr. quickly Googling in his head. Right? Okay, so they made Anne Frank show the Nazis her vaccination card. Fine, okay. But that's happened to me like 6 times since the year turned. Okay? 6 times.
Oh, it was possible. Many died doing it, but it was possible.
Okay.
I mean, this is just insanity. I mean,
I liked it. It's very funny. So I've said, listen, this isn't the first time. This isn't the first time we've heard conservatives do the Holocaust comparison, like anytime the government does anything ever. They only do it when the government's doing something neutral or good, by the way. Patriot Act, like dead silent, you know? Trump's attorney general considering sedition charges on peaceful protesters, black-bagging protesters and dropping them off later after stealing their data, dead silent, you know? Like, shh, you know? Trump trying to, like, loosen libel and slander laws so he can sue journalists, like, shh, no worries. And then Biden fails to pass a vaccine mandate for big businesses. It's all over, boys. Anne Frank didn't have it this bad. The Jews didn't have it this bad. They could just escape over the Alps. But what do we have? Canada? I'll tell you, okay? If the only thing that Germany had bordering it was Canada, the Jews would have stayed put. I feel like I sound like the Stephen Colbert segment that didn't air, you know? I feel like no, not Stephen Colbert, sorry, the Jon Stewart segment they didn't let air, you know? But he could say it. He could say it. People were shot trying to flee through the Alps by Nazis. Were they carded? Listen, the only categorical difference between what we're experiencing now and what they experienced is that they made them wear their vaccine cards and a little badge sewn into the sleeve of their coat, okay? That's the only functional difference. Apart from that, we keep it in our wallets. We have Canada. It's bad. Look, they got free embroidery. Look, they're always screaming about how everything is the Holocaust except for the Holocaust. You know, everything's tyranny except for tyranny. But the reason I'm talking about this specifically, apart from it being incredibly funny, as a Jewish person, I'll say for you, can all the Jews in chat give me like all the sort of post hoc edge passes? Can you soothe the alm? Can you apply the? There you go. I'm done now. So you just give me the ointment. Thank you. Yes, the Goy pass. Thank you very much. The Goy boy, as it's known. Shut up. The point I'm getting at is that the reason this is particularly funny, okay, is because I'm going. Obviously, he got a ton of backlash for this. The funniest of which, objectively, came from his wife. My husband's reference to Anne Frank at a mandate rally in D.C. was reprehensible and insensitive. The atrocities that millions endured during the Holocaust should never be compared to anyone or anything. His opinions are not a reflection of my own. And I like this because this is a really harsh condemnation. This isn't some reserved, like Grimes tweeting out, this isn't like you, Elon. This is like a very direct, straightforward condemnation. He's in the couch now. Now, this could just be a PR thing, but if so, like, this is a harsh PR thing, man. Reprehensible, insensitive, his opinions are not a reflection of my own is like the harshest bit here, I think, because I mean, like, it's the encapsulation of like when you're out with your partner and they fart in public and you step away from them. I mean, like, you're just distancing. It like right now RFK is out there at the club, like getting into fights or whatever. And Cheryl, he's like, Cheryl, back me up. And Cheryl just like walks away. Very, very good. Very, very funny. And of course, RFK Jr. did apologize. He got heat of the moment, gamer moment, heat of the moment, RFK Jr. is sorry for his recent remarks comparing his anti-vaccine convictions to the plight of Anne Frank, the Jewish teenager who was killed during the Holocaust after her family hid for 2 years inside the secret annex of an Amsterdam house. I'm reading this out loud the way I imagine him, how he would read it if he was here. You know what I mean? Okay, fine. They haven't literally killed 10 million people in industrialized engines of manufactured death. I have not literally had my belongings stripped and was sent to a gas chamber. Literally, I'm sorry, you know. I apologize for my reference to Anne Frank, especially to families that suffered the Holocaust horrors. The nephew of President John F. Kennedy wrote on Twitter on Tuesday. My intention was to use examples of past barbarism to show the perils from new technologies of control. To the extent my remarks caused hurt, I am truly and deeply sorry. You know what they say? To see who rules over you, see who you cannot criticize. The ghost of Anne Frank truly does rule over RFK. Truly does haunt him. They're quoting it here too, so you can really get a feel for it. His comments were quickly and broadly condemned on social media, including, that's German, by the Auschwitz Memorial, a museum at the site of the Nazi concentration camp where Frank was imprisoned for a time before being relocated. Oh, not a joke, a bit of a grim realization here. It had never occurred to me that Anne Frank was actually brought to a camp. I didn't actually know that. I knew she was found and died. I just sort of always assumed that she had been shot, just sort of on being found. I never realized she was taken to a camp and then died. Not that it changes anything, really, but yeah. Exploiting the tragedy of people who suffered, were humiliated, tortured, and murdered by the totalitarian regime of Nazi Germany. She died 2 weeks before the camp was liberated, too. Jesus. Debate about vaccines limitation. Yeah, well, we get the... A Canadian Nazi said that line about who rules over people. Oh, yeah. That quote about those who rule over you, those who you cannot criticize, that was from a Nazi, not from Voltaire. Voltaire said some other shit. What was it? I'll defend to the death your right to say dumb shit. I think that's what Voltaire said. But the quote that is frequently attributed to Voltaire is from a Nazi. You know, it turns out there are lots of groups that you probably shouldn't criticize that don't rule over you. You know, children with leukemia, etc., etc. What do you think about anti-Semitism not getting talked about enough on the left? I feel like I've talked about that a bit. I think that's fair room for another segment. Oh wait, hold on. Uh-oh. Memes afoot? Here's Cheryl Hines commenting on her husband's RFK Jr. comparison, her husband RFK Jr.'s comparison between anti-vaxxers and Jews in World War II. I assure you that's not what I was commenting on. Okay. I'm going to make the most charitable leap you guys have ever heard in your entire life and give a possible explanation for this. I don't believe the explanation that I am giving to you, but it is a possible explanation. That Cheryl Hines knew that her husband was at an anti-vax rally, saw this and didn't see the tweet above it, saw this in the added reflections, and responded as though this was exclusively about the anti-vax stuff, in which case she said, my husband's opinions are not a reflection of my own, but then went on to say that it had nothing to do with the World War II Holocaust comparison thing. Do I think that's the case? Probably not. It's possible. It's possible. Look, if there's an underlying message to be taken from all of this, it's that the Auschwitz Memorial Twitter account, the Auschwitz Memorial Museum Twitter account is probably going to have its work cut out for it, because Godwin's law-inducing comparisons to the Holocaust are only going to become more common with time. You know? I feel like they were beefing with James Lindsay for a while, which was really funny, you know, because conservatives love making comparisons to the Holocaust. But don't forget, guys, all right? as much as it is fun to make fun of people for invoking Godwin's law, if there are any comparisons to be made with regards to the Holocaust, they would be most rightfully made by, you guessed it, leftist Jews here in America. Because a lot of the political action we've seen from the far right, particularly concerning QAnon, is a direct descendant of old anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, which are born to justify an authoritarian takeover. You know what? I'll do it twice in one day. If you want to see maybe the best video on QAnon in existence, and also one of the best YouTube videos out there, check out Folding Ideas' video called In Search of a Flat Earth. One half of it is about the flat Earth. It's a really good video. Yeah. It's very, very, very good video. Dan Olson is a master of his craft. Not going to damn him with faint praise, huh? Oh, no, not at all. I would be very worried if I was Dan Olson, because I imagine his inbox is full of the death threats of other YouTube video essayists who jealously despair at the fact that they will never be as good as him at what they do. Which, I hope he's staying safe. Probably gets a lot of death threats from Nazis, too. Just a guess. Anyway, worth looking into that. QAnon is the modern neo-Nazi revival movement. It is a hodgepodge of all pre-existing conspiracy theories. Its central conspiracy about adrenochrome is a sort of direct lineage from old blood libel, anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. And ultimately, all of these, critical conspiratorial narratives are constructed to post hoc justify the thing that they really want, which is an authoritarian takeover in the United States in which only the chosen people will survive, where they will continue to lead in an undemocratic fashion the remaining chosen people without, any concern for the will be dead. Will be dead. If you ever read QAnon forums, when they talk about the storm, here's the big distinction. When you see QAnoners talk about the storm in public media spaces, when they have something to lose, they talk about it as like this great awakening and Trump taking back control after the election was lost. If you look on quieter, more, off to the side QAnon forums, the storm is described as the day of the rope, Turner Diary style, when all the blacks, Jews, Democrats, gays, liberals are strung up from the rope or killed or dumped in mass graves or gassed, and the only people remaining essentially are white conservatives. That's not an exaggeration. That's what it is, basically. So if you're looking to be charitable to QAnoners, you just have to hope that their end day scenario is the one that they say in front of cameras and not the one that they say when the cameras aren't on. And this Holocaust language plays directly into that, this insistence on framing political disagreements, which are not even fundamentally rooted in authoritarianism, as being Holocaust-esque, is a way of justifying responses politically proportionate, which, if you're saying that you're essentially being Holocausted, well, you can do basically anything to get out of that, right? Like, a person who is actually being Holocausted has a moral license to do virtually anything to the people doing the Holocausting. That's the reason why they use the language that they use. It's to constantly whip their supporters up into a state of fear and frenzy, to politically justify violent action, to move them away from sane, sensible, rational analyses of the situation, and towards, I guess, the storm. All right, get me out of here. Ryan, pull me out. Pull me out, Ryan.